That's what I want to hear from.
Clarence Hill, DLLS Cowboys. Coach, Monday, were you cheering for the Chargers, and who did you have cheering at the house? Was that Al, or did he come back and cheer with you? Or just,
I actually did see the last couple minutes of the game, but I was watching. I wasn't cheering. And we have to control. We got to control, but when the ball was intercepted, I was a little happy.
Does that change anything? I know Jerry told we got a real shot now. Does it give you all just another extra punch that, hey, this thing is real, we can make it happen?
Yeah, I thought it was real all along anyways. And, you should never know in this business. I've been around too much to, try to figure it all out and all the playoff predictors and things like that. We're just focused on having a great day today. It's Competition Wednesday, and we'll have the pads on out there today and get back to running around and striking each other a little bit. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Just from an injury standpoint, can you give us an update on Diggs and Guyton? And what is Diggs, Guyton, Lamb for sure, but what does Diggs need to do? Last week he told us he was healthy, he felt better than he felt at the start of the season. What does he need to do to get on the field?
Well, first, a couple things. With Guyton, we'll see how he moves around today. He's making progress, but we'll see. He's got to get out there and do football. CD is progressing nicely through the process, the protocol. I think he's got one or two more things he's got to get done, but I feel good about that. And in terms of Trayvon, he's still in the ramp-up period. I think he does feel healthy. I know he wants to play, but at the end of the day, it's we have to do what we think is in the best interest of not just him, but also the football team. And when you miss time, the ramp-up period is good not just for your body, but for your mind and figuring out some of the defense. And there's some new faces in the huddle and things like that. So, again, love him as a player, but ultimately he's got to show us he's ready to do everything the right way.
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. When you say show us doing everything the right way, is that beyond is that in the meeting rooms and things like that as well, or
everything? Just consistency through everything. He's no different than Dak Prescott or Jake Ferguson or Kenny Clark. Just continue to do everything the right way. And I thought last week was a good first step, and hopefully this week's even better step. And if it is, then you'll see him out there.
Your run game efficiency, I think it's in the Detroit or the Philly game. It was 41 yards on 2 carries. KC was 60-something yards on 2 carries. How do you get the efficiency of your run game back to where you want it, where it's not just big plays or carrying the day?
Yeah, again, I think the one thing we went into the Detroit game about was wanting to win first down, Todd, and we certainly weren't able to do that. But the biggest thing is sustaining blocks. I think that's what we talked to the guys about today. Actually our targeting, our identification of the front and what we were trying to do was good. We didn't sustain blocks very well, and that's where we need to be better. We need to strain to finish, and we're going to be challenged this week with a defense led by Coach Flores that's very multiple, and they're going to do a lot of different things. But the biggest thing I would say would be just it's the last push in the strain and the finish of getting guys covered up a little bit longer to let the backs be able to press the hole and puncture the defense.
John Machota with The Athletic. From your perspective, your first season as the head coach, do you guys have to make the playoffs for this to be a success in your eyes?
Yeah, I think absolutely, but I don't think that's the only thing we're judged upon, but that's what we want. You can't sit up here and talk about winning world championships, and if you don't make the playoff, you don't have a chance to win a world championship. So, again, winning's the number one objective. After that, it's building the culture. There's things that as we get through the season and the season ends, which it will end at some point, we'll look back and there'll be good things and there'll be bad things. And the good things will, find ways to keep those things going, and the things that we have to correct, we'll find ways to improve them.
And then saw that Dak gave you the shiesty to wear at practice and that Hard Knocks. Is that the first time you ever wore one?
Yeah, I didn't really like it. I couldn't breathe. Yeah, I don't know why those guys like it so much, but I thought, hey, this is the cool thing going on. Let me try it. It's kind of like the 6'7" thing a few weeks ago. I'm a hip guy, but yeah, I didn't really like it. It didn't stay on very long.
And how much are you monitoring, I guess, the Hard Knocks thing when the episodes come out, or do you not really watch?
I really don't. People send me things and stuff like that. But again, I will say this. They've been great. The guys, they have a job to do. The production people have been amazing, and they kind of fit right in with us. And by this point, you're just kind of used to it, and you don't think too much about it. So again, kudos to them and NFL Films and HBO and everybody that puts it on.
Nick Harris for Star Telegram. Do you expect Jadeveon Clowney to practice today?
I think so, since Clarence didn't ask about him. I think that, yes, I expect him to do some things today. He's doing a lot better, and I feel like he's progressing nicely.
You guys have been alternating Tolbert and Mingo on the inactive list the last few weeks. What do you want to see from one of those guys to be the cemented guy in that spot?
Yeah, really just kind of, maximize the opportunities, kind of take it over. It's something that we kind of look at each week, and late in the week we kind of make a decision. Special teams is a huge, part of that. Like our fifth receiver's not really, quite honestly, playing as much as we'd like in terms of offense and special teams. So it's the balancing act of, okay, well, who had the good week of practice on offense, and then who's can help, Nick with special teams. And so those are the big things that we have to talk about each and every week, and it's a fun battle for us to look at each week.
You were in San Diego when Phillip Rivers came into the league, and now he's somehow finding his way back in. Just when you heard that, what were your emotions around that?
Man, he must hate coaching. He must. I don't even know how they did. I'm sure they did well, but I'm just happy for him. I mean, he loves football, man. He does, and his ability to see a football field was unique and special. And I know one thing: he can get it out of his hand pretty quick. So he might not be able to move. He really never could move. You probably hear that, but he never really could move. But boy, he could get that ball of his hand fast. So I'm sure he hasn't lost his quick release.
Tommy R. Cowboys.com. Aaron Jones, the last couple times he's played, Cowboys seemingly has just kind of gone to another level. What have you seen from him this season and maybe in some of those games in the past about what's able to make him do that?
Yeah, I mean, got very good vision, very good acceleration, but I think it's his quickness and the ability to find and get in and out of cuts and press holes, and he's kind of a slasher, Tommy, when you watch him run. And again, I just think they're running the ball really well right now. I think he's 4.6. I think Mason might be averaging 4.7 a carry. So they're certainly going to come in here and want to establish the run just because they're really running it well. But I've just been a big fan of Aaron since he got in the league with Green Bay, and he hurts you a lot of different ways, right? Catch the football out of the backfield, and very versatile player that's playing at a high level.
And you mentioned Flores. You played a lot of defenses this year. The disguise coverages blitz a lot. What makes his version of sort of that line of defense different?
They're very multiple. You can see, how he's taken the bones of the operation that he learned from Bill, in New England, and how he's put his stamp on it. What I love about Brian and what he does is, like, if you look at them last year, they're a little bit different than they are this year. They're still very multiple. Look at their roster. He has a affinity in a good way for veteran players. Why? Well, they know football. They're smart. They can be multiple. They can make adjustments. They do as good a job as anybody of what I would say automaticing formations based on if you get in a certain look, they're going to get to something specific. If you get into a different look, as simple as the back's offset in the gun and near or far, they're going to get to different things. And so you can't do that with young players. You can. It's harder to do that with young players. But outstanding defensive mind, and he's very convicted.
Scott Erickson with the AP. First-year head coach building a program. How important is a 4-game finish, regardless of what the playoffs look like?
I think it's always important. I think, we actually talked for the first time. I always talk about, can't win the game the first quarter, second, third, and fourth. We talked a little bit about this, and we talked about heading into this fourth quarter. Let's look at the season in that way. And I think we were 2-1 in the first quarter. We were 2-3 in the second, and then now in the third quarter we're 3-1. What's that mean? It means we're playing better. It means we're playing more consistent. It means we're doing things at a higher level, a higher standard. But again, Minnesota is our focus. Minnesota is my focus. But, like I said, at the end of the day, we're going to be judged on wins and losses. And so let's start by getting the first one in the fourth quarter against Minnesota.
Garrett.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Hey, Brian, you've been around Dak for a few years. How do you feel like you've seen him evolve with getting to answers and really, freeing himself up when he's blitzed?
Yeah, elite level. I don't think he was ever bad at it, but I do think he's more confident in it now. I think that comes from time. I think that comes from we try to keep the solutions pretty simple. I'm not a guy that thinks you got to have 8 different ways to block up cover 0 or 8 different ways to handle, double-edged blitzes and things like that. I think you've got to have a handful of things that you trust and you believe in, and I think he owns those. And I think it's been evident, watching him perform versus some of the, tough looks that we get. And he has the answer, whether it's throwing hots or throwing blitz side adjust or getting to certain checks for certain coverages. But we'll certainly be tested this week with, with Coach Flores in this defense.
How do you feel about your offensive tackles handling Minnesota blitzes the highest rate in football after last week?
Yeah, again, it won't be just the tackles. I mean, they move a lot. They're going to be stunting and moving, and they're firing their backers a bunch. And, I guess I saw the number we did talk about today, Harrison Smith. I mean, 14 years in the league. Wow. I mean, playing at a high level, had to pick last week. But, again, we have to protect Dak this week, but we also have to run the football. And, again, they're going to challenge you to do that because they're going to be multiple. And the coverage that they play is very vision-driven. Everybody kind of wants to keep eyes on the quarterback. And because of that, there's certain things that they make more difficult than others, but there's also things that we feel like we can take advantage of.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. When CeeDee Lamb went out, did you guys challenge Flo to be like, hey, time to step up, or how did you see him kind of respond?
No, you never have to worry about Flo, Joe. I mean, he's always ready. He's earned his stripes per se. I mean, it wasn't just the Jets. He's done it multiple times. I just think, again, me and my word consistency, I think that's what's so cool is how well he's playing each and every week. I mean, he's played good the last couple of weeks, even though he didn't put up 120 yards or whatever it was. He's played well the last couple of weeks, and I think his star is on the rise. You talk about a guy that's big, strong, physical, good with the ball in his hands, loves contact. Guys like that, sign me up for. I'll take them any day of the week.
And then Vikings lead the league in interceptions thrown. A guy like Teron Glenn obviously has had a history of making interceptions, one this year. How much of a potential opportunities for a guy like him, especially to build his confidence and maybe trying to get his hands on the ball this week?
Well, again, I think it starts with our ability to stop the run first. You got to make them have to throw it. JJ obviously looked very comfortable last week. I thought one of his better games, and certainly didn't have any interceptions. But again, we've talked a little bit about it. It starts by affecting the passer. You got to get people around him, one, and then again, when the ball's up, you got to be able to find ways to get it turned over, and that's where again, our biggest issue right now as a football team is the giveaway takeaway ratio. Us not protecting it on offense and us not taking it away on defense.
Saudis in The Athletic. Brian, what's your philosophy on fourth downs in terms of going for it? Is it a mathematical decision? Is it how much does feel play into it, and how many people are you consulting to make that decision?
Yeah, it's instincts. We'll have a plan side going into games, based on who you're playing, where you're playing. But a lot of it is instincts and your gut feel. I talk to Feeder a ton, and we kind of have a plan going in. Those plans can change, but at the end of the day, you kind of have an idea, when the drive's going, hey, if we get to a certain number, if it's 4th and 2 or less, let's say, hey, we're thinking go for it. And then you kind of look at your call and you're like, yeah, I'm good. And then there's sometimes you're like, no, I'm not. I don't feel great about this call. But it's a little bit of both, But again, I would say it's a lot of instincts, a lot of pre-planning, preparation, and then me and Feeder just kind of having quick conversations.
And how much does kind of the flow of the game in terms of if the offense is doing well, defense is doing well, how much does that play into the decision?
A little bit. I'd be lying if I said it doesn't factor in at times. But you try to be pretty consistent and go with the plan and go with those things we talked about, the measures of, hey, field position matters. It might be a little bit longer at the 40-yard or a little shorter at the inside the 15. But I'd be lying if I said you're not at times adjusting or reacting to situations.
Pat.
Hey, Coach Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. In having a conversation with Tyler Booker and Cooper Beebe, Cooper was really candid about the Detroit game and the protection issues. But something that stood out was him saying that you guys were trying to figure out why you had a lack of energy, a lack of juice in that Detroit game. Don't know how much of that was the fact that you played 4 games in 17 days, but how can you guard against that and coming out flat against the Vikings, especially as you guys try to figure out how to get off to a fast start?
Yeah, I think, I would agree. I didn't think we had our best day overall. I think, were we tired? I don't know. I mean, we had to play a lot of games, but at the end of the day, I believe in this group of young men. I believe in the fact that we are an energetic group. You can't watch our sidelines and not know that there's not juice and energy and guys cheering for the other side of the ball and things like that. And I'm not going to let one game after a tight window of time affect the way I look at it. And in terms of worried about these guys and their ability to come out without a lot of energy this game, I think it's, in my opinion, 0%. And we do need to start faster. We've kind of looked at some things, and we need to score more points early on and get more stops early on. And we've got an idea of how we think we can do that, but now we have to go out and execute it.
Clear.
K9 has become a target for people looking for what's wrong with the run defense. What do you like about him? What has he done well? And also, what does Logan need to do to get more opportunities?
Yeah, so number one, when we added Logan, we were just trying to get, we're adding depth, right, getting better. K9, I love his physicality, man. I love the fact that he can run and hit, and we've talked a little bit at times about his eye progression and seeing things like that. Logan's been here a couple weeks, and I think both guys give us, a chance to play well and win. And again, to the naked eye, sometimes you look at things and you're like, oh, it's that guy's fault, or it's this guy's fault, or oh, that was Schotty's problem, or whatever. And that's what we sign up for. But at the same time, it's not always what it appears to be on film. And so what we need to do from a defensive standpoint is get back to playing the way that we were against Philadelphia late, Kansas City for the most part throughout the game, in Las Vegas. And that's not just about one guy. That's about all 11 guys doing right and communicating and things like that. And I do like the competition that we've created in that room, though.
Nick.
Andrew Van Ginkel is one of the best screen defenders in the NFL. What makes him such a pest in that specific situation, and how do you prep for something like that so you can keep it in the playbook?
Yeah, he's just an excellent football player, man. Great instincts, really good blitzer, great feel for coverage, very disruptive. You can't watch the film without seeing him tip balls and intercept balls. And this group does a nice job. Again, they're veterans, right? So they know if they can't get to the quarterback, they kind of stop and wait. And you have to be very careful when you're trying to throw quick screens around him because he's pretty slippery. But I've always really appreciated the guy for the type of football player that he is. And we played him a couple years back when he was with Miami, and same thing, extremely disruptive. But seriously, look at their roster. Look at the defensive roster and how many veterans they have, whether it's Allen, Hargrove, Renard, Van Ginkel, Murphy. They have a type, and I understand.
Alrighty.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.